Hello, beautiful people. My name is Drew Diorsi, and today we are going to be talking about the fastest route to freedom and success. And it's ultimately the story of how I made my first six figures as an online coach. And so, if you want to create a more epic and abundant life, then I want you to watch this video all the way through. We're going to keep it short. We're going to keep it really freaking practical. At the end, I'm going to give you a step-by-step practical solution so that you can begin to achieve your fucking desires. So you can begin to live a life that you absolutely love. Because it's possible for you regardless of how restricting and restrictive and limited your life is right now. Regardless of how many times you've messed up over the past few years, decades even, for some of you. If you follow and you go all in on what I'm about to share with you, you will not recognize your life and yourself within just 6 months' time. So that being said, my friends, I want to start off talking about desires, okay? Because the fastest route to freedom and success is through honoring your desires. So let's start with what I mean by desires. I am not alluding to your cravings and what's your, like, let me take a couple steps back. What I believe your desires to be are signals, if you will, from your higher self telling you, in order for you to feel fulfilled, in order for you to feel so fucking good, you have to go down this path. You have to do this. You have to accept your desires as what you need to do. And you need to surrender to them. And what tends to happen is people become aware of their desires. I want to leave my job. I want to pursue or end this relationship. They become aware of them, but they don't go after them for one of two reasons. One, they think they're incapable, unworthy, that they can't do it, or that they're going to regret doing it. Or number two, they have a shame complex, a guilt complex around whatever they desire. So coming to my story, many years ago, I became aware of this desire to be a really successful coach. This burning desire, I really want to help people. And the reason that became so freaking visceral for me is because I used to be a really struggling teenager. Super fucking insecure, super weak, super unhealthy, the most unconfident individual you can possibly imagine, the shyest individual you can possibly imagine, the most awkward person, and I fucking hated it. So I found coaches and mentors, and I gave myself the permission to be led by them. And they had such a profound impact on me. And ultimately, I started to feel better about life, and I was like, all right, well, I want to be able to do this for other people. So I really had this strong desire to be fucking great. And at the same time, I was going to school. I was in my second or third year at university, and I was going to school, and I noticed this desire to leave. I really wanted to fucking leave. But I didn't think I was going to be successful if I left school, because all of my friends were going to school, and they all thought I was fucking crazy for wanting to leave school after I expressed to them this idea and this desire. They thought I was fucking insane. But I was reading all of these books about if you really want to live a fulfilled life, you have to do what most people aren't willing to do. You have to create your own path. I'm like, all right, well, I have to fucking leave school. And I shoved it down for a little bit, and every time I went to school, I just felt so much tension. Felt so restricted. And eventually, my father was paying for my education at the time. I was going to a community college, and I eventually built up the courage, and I go, Dad, I can't do this anymore, man. I can't do this. I know exactly what I want to do. I want to be a health coach, and I want to help people live their healthiest and happiest lives. Unfortunately, we just had a couple weeks left in that semester. I said, all right, Drew, I support your decision. Just finish your bachelor's and do whatever you have to do. You have my support. And that, up until that point, was the most uncomfortable conversation I had had in my entire life. It was me honoring my desires. And moving forward, if you are aware of a desire, I really want to be great at X, I really want to do Y, and you don't intentionally move towards that just a little bit every single day, your life starts to become so restrictive and so limited, and you start to feel so much tension, and you start to get mad at people. You start to get frustrated at the government. You start to get frustrated at your partner even though you love them. You start to get frustrated at yourself so much so. And negative self-talk just over and over again, and that's simply because you're living out of alignment. So what we must do is we must acknowledge our desires, and we have to, by any means necessary, pursue them. In this all-in mentality, in this mentality of I cannot fail. Because it's not about achieving any outcome. It's about simply doing what you desire. That's it. It is not your job to achieve 6 figures. It's not your job to achieve any type of external success. It is merely your job to honor your desires. And coming back to the one of two reasons for why people don't honor their desires. Number one, they don't think they're capable or worthy of achieving it, so they just fucking tolerate a really bullshit way of living. If that's where you're at, okay, and we'll talk about the second one in a moment, but if that's where you're at, the good news is solving this and overcoming this obstacle of thinking you can't do it is by doing the thing and proving to yourself that you can. You don't even have to change your self-talk. Who gives a fuck about your self-talk? Just let the mind do whatever it needs to do. You force yourself, for a lack of a better way of articulating it, you demand of yourself, I'm going to do the thing because I love it so much, because I really want to be great at it. And in due time, whether it's a few months, a few years, you don't even care at this point because you're just living your desires, and that makes life so cool. But at some point, reality will begin to reflect to you, and you're going to notice and experience some type of success. It will happen. It happens to everybody. It happens to everybody who remains true to their desires. At some point, it might take a long fucking time, but it happens to everybody who remains true. So if you feel like you can't do it, the solution is to fucking do it, to feel the fear and do it anyways, and to remain grounded, to remain relentless on your journey of honoring your desires, of noticing what you want and doing it, noticing what you want, doing it. So that's the solution to the first reason. The second solution, which is perhaps a bit more vague, and also the most important one to be talking about, because this is where most people stem from for why they feel crummy, which is the reason a lot of people don't honor their desires is because they have shame around what they want. They feel guilty for wanting what they want. They feel guilty for their desires. They feel guilty because Society says you shouldn't want this because their parents and their teachers have programmed them and conditioned them to think wanting this is bad, because religion tells them this is bad, because the people who came before us told us this is bad. And so, for example, the moment, let's say you're in a relationship that you absolutely love this person so much and you see a future with them, and yet you desire to have sex with somebody else. But because our conditioning has led us to believe that having sex with somebody else when you love somebody is a taboo and you can't do it, it means you don't love the other person, right? Which is just total bullshit. But society has programmed us to believe that, right? And so we push down that desire to make love with somebody else, to have sex with somebody else, and it fucking eats us alive. It eats us alive, and ultimately that's why a lot of relationships end, because the lack of communication of desires. Oh man, this is fun. Where else do I want to go with this? So, if where you're at is you really know what you want, but you feel ashamed for wanting it, what you have to do, and this is a bit more advanced, I suppose, but perhaps some of you will be able to digest this if I can relay it properly. What you'll have to do is you'll have to really just take a moment and reflect on your intention, on where you are coming from, knowing that you are such a pure, loving, beautiful individual that your intention is never to hurt somebody else. Okay? Your intention is never to hurt somebody else. It's always to experience and express more love, regardless of how crazy and guilty that desire makes you feel. Perhaps that is digestible. Let me know if it is or if it's not in the comments down below, or send me an email. I'll add it to the description. If any of this resonates, let's bring it full circle to my story. Coming back to the beginning, I knew my desire was to be a successful coach, but I didn't know how to fucking do it. So I hired other coaches to teach me how to do it. Hired my first life coach, hired a business coach, hired another business coach, hired another health coach. And all these coaches just guided me and were perfect mirrors and reflections of my truest self. And they instilled a conviction, a self-belief inside of me, so that I can just attack my desires without any fear of repercussions. And again, you can only do this when you know you are coming from a place of light and love. It's difficult to do this if you feel like a bad person, okay? And let me tell you, you're not a bad person when you're coming from your heart. You might be really fucking bad if you're coming from your mind though, but that's a different video. So I honored my desires and I stayed true to them for a really long time. This desire of wanting to be a successful coach came up for me 7 years ago. 7 years ago. And it's evolved, and I've stayed consistent in one capacity or another, with studying, with trying to get more clients, with marketing, with social media. It's been evolving, but I've stayed true to my desire because I knew what I want. And eventually, the 7th year, 6 figures happened. And as it evolves, as I continue to evolve, life becomes more fulfilling. As I continue to be more sensitive and more attuned to my desires and more fearless with attacking them, life just becomes super fucking cool. Like super cool. And I don't even care about what reality is reflecting to me, because it's all about just me feeling really good. It's all about me feeling really, really good. And perhaps that's the takeaway that I want to give you, which is, if you want to create an awesome life, if you want to feel free and successful, you have to feel good now. And the way you feel good now is you honor your desires. You cannot feel good by shoving your desires down and following the fucking rules. You're not gonna feel good. You're going to feel restricted. So if you want to experience freedom and success, you have to feel good now, without a care in the world of what is being reflected to you in your external circumstances. And you do that by taking bold action. You do that by being relentless on your journey every single day. You do that by making today another stepping stone for you, and not putting it off for tomorrow, not putting it off for another time where you feel better. Let me take a couple breaths to see if there's anything else that I want to add before we wrap this up. I suppose I'll answer, or I'll just kind of circle it back to the subtitle, How I Made Six Figures as an Online Coach. I did it because I was relentless on honoring my desires. In all areas, I should add. It's not just the area of my career, it's the area of my relationships. Honoring my desires and communicating clearly, how, even though it's so uncomfortable, it's so uncomfortable, but I did it anyways because I knew that is the path to freedom and success. I knew that was the path. Even though my mind was terrified, I still did it. So it's not about just picking one aspect. It's about picking all the important aspects, your wealth, your career, your relationships, and your health. Knowing what I really want. The mind is like, you want to get super fucking jacked and be bigger than The Rock, but my heart is like, no, you just want to be lean, healthy, and strong and powerful. And so I honor that, even though my mind's like, yo, you should take some steroids, bro. The mind is like, you should take some steroids, bro, so you can be bigger and be more impressive. But the heart is like, no, just eat foods that make you feel alive. Eat foods that make you feel strong and make you feel full of vitality and life force. Who gives a fuck what your body looks, bro? Just eat foods that make you feel good. And ironically, the body will look really good when you do that. So it's about honoring your desires in all areas. And that is the fastest route to freedom and success. Mwah. Sending you lots of love. My name is Drew. Subscribe to the channel. Follow the podcast. If you're interested in working with me so that you too can take your life to the next level, go to the description down below and schedule a free coaching consultation where you and I will talk one-on-one, and we'll simply see if we'd be a good fit, and we'll see if I can help you achieve your goals of living your best life in your best body with awesome relationships and a lot of success. Peace.